Hello, friend, and thank you for joining me. I'm Reverend Alice Anderson, Senior Minister at Christ Church Unity in Orlando, Florida. A little over a year ago, on June 12th, 2016, many of us in Orlando were awakened as if from a dream when the most violent act many of us had ever heard of happened right here in our city. But before Orlando, there was Charleston, South Carolina, and other acts of violence that many of us didn't see. There was Columbine. There was Sandy Hook. And now we're hearing reports of violence and acts of terror from our nation and even around our world. Our temptation as humans is to, when we hear about these acts of violence, is to respond from a primal place of fear, anger, and lashing out with that same violent energy and protection of what we hold dear. While this reaction is very tempting and in fact normal, we want to not do that. Anger is a natural emotion in response to an injustice. We want to take that anger, sit with it in meditation, and let it shift to understanding. Let that anger shift into compassion and forgiveness. Let that anger shift into love and wanting to open our hearts even in the midst of violence, so that we are transmuting and transcending these acts of violence. What is happening around our city, around our country, and even the world is that as these acts of violence and these report of innocent lives being taken through these senseless acts of violence, is we are responding with like energy. When we respond with this like energy, what we're doing is adding to the hatred and the violence rather than subtracting. One of the things we believe strongly in at Unity and have since its inception is prayer and the power of prayer to create peace in our lives and in the world. Our prayers are needed now more than ever, and I invite you to join with us morning, noon, and night in prayers for peace. Take a moment to pray, to meditate every day, 3 times a day, as a mantra to see peace prevailing in our lives, in our city, in our nation, and even the world. Since the Pulse shooting, myself as a minister and many other faith leaders in this city have been doing more than ever before. I continue to serve on the One Pulse Task Force to continue to see peace, love, and justice prevail in our city. But in addition to our activism, we need prayers for peace so that our actions are grounded in love and in compassion. All of the major religions teach us that love is the highest calling for each one of us as souls. On Sunday, September 10th, we are beginning a series called Prayer and the Emerging Truth, where we as a spiritual community are going to be holding a particular area of our city in prayer and then following that up with activism in the months to come. So I encourage you to join us for that. Join us any of the times I mentioned. You can join us for prayer on Tuesday at noon. You can join us for meditation on Wednesday night at 6:15. Any Sunday morning service. We are always praying and meditating for peace, for ourselves, for our city, for our nation, and even the world. So we invite you especially to our service Sunday, September 10th, for Prayer and the Emerging Truth, where we'll be blessing and working with our local sheriff's department and how we can bring more peace and more justice to our communities and therefore into our world. That same week, we will also be holding a 24-hour prayer vigil to lift our world in prayer. So please join us, dear friends, at Christ Church Unity, where we believe peace is possible. We hold prayers for peace in our lives, peace in our community, our city, state, nation, and even the world. Peace is possible as we as spiritual souls wake up to the divinity of who we are. So bless you, dear friends. We hold you in prayer for God's highest and best in your life.